Yes, you heard that right. They are illegal. I think I'd have a lot of fun with that one. As soon as it affects somebody else, they're gonna get you. That law is exempt from pregnant women. Hello, welcome back to A Wanderlust for Life here on YouTube. And this is a part of the expat series on this channel that normally shows you European gems through food and memorable experiences. I am outside today. I thought you'd enjoy the change of scenery a little bit. I have this beautiful boat behind me. I am here in Amsterdam Nord in the NDSM neighborhood. If you'd like more information about that, I'll leave a video linked below and at the end of the video. But today, I'm going to be talking about crazy Dutch laws. Okay, so what does crazy mean? It might mean different things to different people for sure. I'm not saying I think these are crazy, but this is what the internet thinks is crazy from an American perspective. So American thinks Dutch laws are crazy, some sensationalized thing like that. Well, the first thing, and I think a lot of Americans, maybe all over the world, so you'll have to let me know in the comments, but wearing a helmet is not part of the law. And I'm pretty sure where I'm from it is, at least under a certain age, just for safety reasons. But why is that? Well, it's because this country is kind of designed for cycling, right? So like we have our own bike roads, bike paths. The law tends to protect the cyclist more than like the car or the pedestrian. So there's always that. That is another crazy law, or at least something that happens all the time here. If there is an accident, even if the cyclist is at fault, a lot of times it's not going to be the cyclist's fault. But you know, I mean, that's just how it works here, and you kind of get used to that. But what that means is cars are more careful, pedestrians, at least those who live here, are more careful. So the cyclists can have the right of way and they can be protected. Now, if they run a red light or something like that, that gets a little bit more in the gray area, since that is actually illegal. But what is illegal, so you don't have to wear a helmet, but what is illegal is if you ride your bike at night without lights. Yeah, seriously, you can get a ticket for that. You'll get fined for that. So basically you always want to have lights on you. So in the winter time, what we would do, especially when we were in the West and we were cycling a little bit more, we would keep extra lights in our bags in case they died or something like that. There are bike lights everywhere, like at all the convenience stores, the little shops and stuff like that. So you don't have to look too hard to find them, but you still need to always have bike lights. For my bike, I have permanent lights that I can change the batteries, which is really nice, but they can get stolen pretty easily. So people tend to buy the cheaper ones that just kind of wrap around the handlebars. Okay, I'm using my cheat sheet on my phone. We have mandatory emergency drills every month. So like, you know the air raid siren from the war period? We still test that every month on the first Monday of the month at noon, and twice a year they test our phones as well. So we get an emergency broadcast text, and the alert is so ridiculously loud. It's really bad if you're on the metro when people have their sound on. Oh, back to the bike. So you have to have a bell on your bike as well. I didn't actually know that one. I did know about the lights, but not the bell. So that's a new one for me. So if you're renting a bike in Amsterdam, they should have all the things that make it legal, but definitely check and make sure you have a working front and rear light. So a red light goes in the rear, white light goes in the front, and a working bell. If you go into the forest and the parks, everything there belongs to the municipality, so you can't take anything out of it. So don't go picking flowers or taking rocks or anything like that. That's all a big no-no. It's not yours, it is the city's. So if you're thinking about getting married in Amsterdam, you might want to think again, because you have to be a resident here in order to get married. It kind of makes sense, but I know a lot of places do have kind of packages for people to get married there, and this is not one of them. But I did hear that Denmark has a great deal for that, so you might want to check it out if you want to go north. I guess if you want to go south, try any other warmer place. 3 or more singles cannot live in a house. This is to prevent house sharing. I don't really understand this law. I mean, I get that they don't want like party houses, frat houses type of thing, but it really does hurt like students and singles here, just because things are already so expensive and they're not really allowed to share the houses, so that really sucks. But on the same line, the tenants have a ton of rights here. Like, if you want to get into real estate, a lot of people do that here in Amsterdam, but it's not always the best idea because the tenants do have such strong rights. Like, if you don't pay rent, they have to take you to court to get you kicked out. They can't just kick you out themselves. Like, it's kind of crazy in my opinion. I could never imagine like treating somebody's home as if it wasn't my own, but I guess there's been a problem. But like that's just kind of crazy that the laws kind of work that way. Here's a very controversial one. So euthanasia is legal for up to 1-year-old and over 12 years old. And there's a children's coalition pushing to get that to include children from 1 to 12. I'm not really gonna put my opinions on here, but I'm sure you may in the comments below. It's definitely one of the few countries that you can find that. And it's certainly an interesting one. It's a conversation starter. Not really, don't start a conversation like that. That's just weird. Okay, I'm gonna read this one because it gets a little convoluted, but basically, all recreational drugs are illegal in the Netherlands. Yes, you heard that right. They are illegal, even cannabis, but they are tolerated. That means cannabis and some recreational mushrooms are in a separate class, which, while technically illegal, soft drugs are tolerated in the Netherlands in small quantities, but it is illegal to sell, grow, or distribute, but they are allowed to be sold in a coffee shop. But nobody like thinks about where they're grown. It's just, it's a weird little situation. And when it comes to like coffee shops here, so coffee shops, in case you don't know, is where you can buy cannabis in the Netherlands. There's always somebody trying to stop tourists from being able to buy it and to smoke it here in the coffee shops, but it hasn't worked yet. So we'll see. It is a criminal offense to publicly insult any group based on race, religion, beliefs, personal preference, or disability. This is punishable by 1 to 2 years in jail and a fine. That means no hate speech. It is a land of the free for the most part. For the vast majority of things, you can do pretty much whatever you want, but as soon as it affects somebody else, they're gonna get you. Besides the military, nobody can own or operate an automatic weapon. The only exceptions are the police for self-defense, hunters, and target shooters. But there are a ton of restrictions. And I've talked about the gun issue in a previous video, which I'll link down below for you in case you're curious about a little bit more detail. And also somebody wrote in the comments in that video more detail about the gun control and what the process is to actually own a weapon here in the Netherlands. It was so fascinating and enlightening to an American, where you can just go to Walmart and buy one, which, you want to talk about crazy laws? Let's talk about crazy laws in the US. Do you want that video? Just thought about that. If you want crazy laws in the US, let me know in the comments, because I think I'd have a lot of fun with that one. It is against Dutch law to urinate in the canal. Yes. And yes, if you've been to Amsterdam, you've probably seen men peeing in the canal. I'm not surprised. I've seen it many times myself. But it is illegal and you can get fined. There are urinals everywhere, so there really is no excuse. But apparently the crazy part of this law is that law is exempt from pregnant women. You're welcome, pregnant women. If you want to pee in the canal, apparently you're allowed to do that. This one I find fascinating because they do it anyway. So Dutch law prevents anybody from buying, or I guess selling, fireworks except the 3 days before January 1st. So our big firework day is New Year's Eve, but people tend to just go to Belgium and they start shooting them off for, I don't know, like 2 weeks before New Year's. It's actually quite annoying. And then on New Year's, it starts around 8 p.m. and the entire city, at least in Amsterdam, it's the only place I've lived, for anybody who keeps commenting, this is only Amsterdam. That's where I live. That's the only place I've lived in the Netherlands. Deal with it. But they go crazy, like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. usually. There's usually city fireworks as well. And yes, a lot of people do get hurt. And yes, there are fires, in case you were wondering. Prostitution is legal. You may already know that. They pay taxes. And I don't know that you could say they're unionized, but they definitely have protection, you know, through law, which obviously is a great thing. They're just entrepreneurs. Okay, I hope that was interesting to you. If you know more crazy Dutch laws, or if you know some crazy laws where you're from, I really want to hear them, so leave them down below for me. If you aren't subscribed already, please go ahead and do that and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and I'll put the playlist of all the other expat videos right next to my head. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!